Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel, and today I'm going to be doing a quick response to a couple videos ago where I said like this is basically going to be a response to my previous computer science video about getting into a master's program. And a lot of people ask me questions how I got in, especially because I don't have a STEM background. And so this video is going to be a quick response to that, and I'm going to guide you through the steps. This right here is for Fullerton specifically. Going through this, okay, so intro to programming. So this is, at Fullerton, this is going to be C++. So this is basically like learn how to use your loops, your whiles, you know, all your ifs, else, and all those different things. And you get a little bit into structures, but not too much. And then object-oriented programming, yeah, this is all about classes and polymorphism, all that. Data structures, pretty much all trees and searching. Assembly, this one is MASM, Microsoft Assembly Language or whatever. Not too hard. So these are pretty much what you want to get done, right? So then after that, before you get into your master's, you need to finish the rest of these down here. I'll go over the math classes too, but you have compilers, algorithm engineering, which is pretty much like data structures part 2. Operating systems, this is like you're learning to manipulate the operating system level. This was done in Linux, so you're learning about threads and processes and all that. Foundations of software engineering. This one's like you do a bigger scale project, so it's more geared towards like learning to engineer a type of software that you might do in real life at a company or something like that, right? So in your mathematics courses, you have 270A, which is discrete 1, and this is discrete 2. I'm calling it that because that's more generally what it's called at every university. And then math 338, which is your applied natural sciences. This is statistics that requires Calc 1, I think. But so to get to actually, this one doesn't require Calc 1 and Calc 2. Okay, so just to show you, this is what my old acceptance was, where it says, it's kind of confusing, but the check marks are the things I haven't done, which doesn't necessarily make sense. But as you can see here, Calc 1 and Calc 2 is required. This says linear algebra, but that's not true. Linear algebra is a separate one. I think it's 250. Which is a little confusing, but this is discrete 1 and this is discrete 2. I also have linear algebra because a lot of schools do require it, but don't read too much into this. This is not proper naming convention of this course right here. So as you can see, it's a little bit more thorough than what is here, but this is pretty much everything. You the only thing missing is Calc 1 and Calc 2, but like I said, a lot of schools are going to require that anyway. So what you are looking at before you get into your program is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and then 12, 13. And then if it requires a linear algebra, which some of them do, I guess it would be like 13, 14. And you don't have to, at Fullerton, if you get into this, you are not required to do this technical writing because they kind of assume you're good enough because you're getting in with all these things. But with that being said, here's the pros and cons, right? So when you get in, you have a year, so two full semesters. You can do summer and winter or whatever, but you're pretty much on a ticking timeline to make sure all these are done, which is why you pretty much, so this is going into the recommended section now. You have a very limited time to get this done once you get into the university, and then they will tell you, like, if you want to, you can also do something called Open University, which is means you have a bachelor's degree and you just want to take courses, and you pretty much have to wait until there's an opening, which I don't recommend because the chances of you getting in are so low because the program is so impacted. And it's not just at Fullerton. This is pretty much I tried taking open universities. I tried checking like a lot of different schools, and it's just not very practical because you pretty much get lowest priority. You get, you know, like if a class doesn't fill up, but if it's a core class, like of course it's going to get filled. So what I recommend you do is a lot of these have to be taken in a certain order, right? So Calc 1 and Calc 2, obviously you have to take one before you take your second one. If you are required to take linear algebra either comes before Calc 3, so it's slotted between Calc 2 and Calc 3, or it comes after Calc 3, and then it's like kind of linear slash differential equations. It's kind of merged together, but again, it depends on your school. Please check assist.org. Also check your school to make sure that your school follows that that curriculum or whatever. But so a lot of these all of these are going to be taken one after another, so you have to take this one first, which is pretty much like your 101 class, and then your data structures where 120. Okay, yeah, so you see how this one is here but it's not here. So this is your introductory course right here, and then you have your 121, which is this one right here, which is your object-oriented programming. So it's kind of confusing because they don't say everything here, and that's the thing that's a little daunting at first. But what I recommend you do is, because you're on a ticking timeline, is take as many of these courses as possible before you get in, so that way when I got in, I only needed to take 4 or 5 classes, which is very easily doable in like 2 semesters. But if you're getting in and you only have 1 year and you don't have any of these courses, you're probably not going to finish in time, or you're going to kill yourself, or you're not going to get good grades, or you might be able to, but it's really, really rough. So I recommend you just knock as many out as possible before you get in. And so once you're done with all of these, right, so going back to this, right, so you have to do your CS 120 first, and then your 121, and then your 131. So all of these you have to take this one before this one, and then this one. But your organization and assembly can be taken immediately after 121. So if you wanted to, you could take 131 and 240 at the same time. And so and because these are your upper division classes, you can take all of these after you take your data structures. This is the main one holding everyone back. So if you can finish this, all of these open up for you. So this one is kind of an outlier, if you kind of want to say that. You can kind of take this anytime after you finish this course right here. And then after you finish your data structures, all these 4 classes will open up for you. Okay, so after that, right, you want to talk about, okay, once you're actually into your program, what happens? Okay, well, these are your 4 classes that are absolutely required. So this one right here is either a project or a thesis. There's pros and cons to both, but basically if you do your thesis, it's more recommended. And this is kind of my own personal opinion, but if you do your thesis, it's a lot better, because if you ever decide to go back for your PhD, this is a little bit more helpful. But so barring this class right here where you're right in, you have to take these 3 classes right here, this computer architecture, software design, and a seminar in computer science, right? And then you also need to include one of these, right? It's kind of just, it's in software engineering, so you just have to pick one of these. So you basically have 4 plus your thesis or your project, right? So what you also need now is well, let's see, where is it right here? You have to take an additional 5 courses. So let's count this out: 1, 2, 3, 4, if you want to call it that, and then 5. So your course, if you're trying to take the bare minimum and just graduate as quickly as possible, you pretty much need to take 9.5 classes, if you want to call it 10. But so here is your let me see if I can pull it up. Okay, so this is your elective courses, and so these are not strictly only these. You are able to select more. There are more 400 and 500 level classes, but the way that Fullerton set it up, and it's even listed here, it's not everything is listed, but this is kind of a helpful way where you can just kind of quickly glance at it and be like, what am I interested in? And so software engineering, a lot of these courses are going to be required anyways. So your real elective courses, if you want to call it that, is your database and web programming, your computer networks and security, your distributed systems, and your machine intelligence, AI, whatever you want to call it, and then bioinformatics and computer graphics and multimedia. Okay, so it's broken down into this, and what they recommend you do is select at least two in two different areas, so that way you're not heavily loaded on just, you're gonna do the entire computer networks thing, which you can't anyways, because you need, I think it's 2 or 3. I think it might be 3. Yeah, 3 courses need to be at the 500 level. So if you look right here, they kind of made it specifically that way, so that, for example, if you wanted to do database and web programming, only one 500 level class is at the very bottom tier or top tier, if you want to, whatever you want to call it. So that way it forces you to be like, okay, well, now I need to do a couple classes in the computer network and security, because this one has a 500 level class. This has distributed systems is all 500 level classes. So, if you want to do distributed systems and say machine intelligence, well, there you go. Those are your 2, because you could do maybe 2 here, and then you could do another 500 level class here, and then boom, So you need five electives, and then you have 4 required software engineering fundamentals, and then you have one class, which is your thesis and or your project. So that's pretty much how it wraps up. And so this is the Open University that I was telling you about, and it's basically, if you want to take courses without, you're not admitted into Fullerton, but you just want to take the course, which will transfer obviously if you needed to, but I don't recommend it, like I said, because what ends up happening is you kind of get the bottom tier of things, so it's really hard to even get in, and the price is pretty high, so I don't really recommend it. And then the last thing is they talk about like how long this is going to take, and pretty much if you're able to do this, it's you have 10 semesters, which is like if you're taking one class just a semester, which is kind of useful if you're working full time. You can take a lot of these courses, and I've taken a look at them. There's a lot of night courses, and there's a lot of early morning classes, and there are some Saturday courses. I think I saw a few in there. So it's kind of for everyone. The only time where it's very, very you have to be very efficient on your time is when you first get in and you don't have your prerequisites, because the clock is ticking immediately. You have 1 year to get it done. I'm sure there are exceptions, but they tell you have 1 year, so don't really mess around with that. And that's pretty much it. And at the end of this, you should hopefully get your computer science degree. And yeah, that's pretty much it. But did you guys have any questions or anything more? I'd love to cover it or answer your guys' questions in the comments below. Give me a thumbs up if you found it useful or whatever. But until then, thank you guys so much for watching. I'll see you guys on the next one. Peace.